From software. For many, those two words will bring forward a lot of different emotions. A studio known for making extremely difficult but very fair games. From Software has brought us legendary titles such as the Dark Souls series and the long-running Armored Core series. But if we travel back in time to the very early 2000s, From Software had just put out a little title called The Adventures of Cookie and Cream, and it would turn out to be secretly one of their most brutal titles. In The Adventures of Cookie and Cream, two players take control of the titular characters, Cookie and Cream, two rabbits who set out to bring back the moon and save the Moon Festival along with the aid of two chickens. The game will see them travel through 8 unique themed worlds made up of 4 levels and a boss battle, and ultimately bringing the moon back so they can continue to make mochi, a reference to varying Asian mythologies of the moon rabbit. The game itself is deceptively simple, with levels being a puzzle-based maze run from start to finish. Each level is split into 2 sides, with one player working up the left side and the other player working up the right side. The two must work closely together, with most obstacles in one player's way to be moved or affected by something on the other player's field. The game also has a simple 2-button system, one to jump, and one to context interact with the world. There is also a hell mode, in which both players share a controller, but we don't talk about that. Every world is finished by a boss battle, each of which offer interesting and fresh new mechanics, and often pit one player against the boss while another supports, or sees the two players sharing a mechanic, such as being in a vehicle together where one player is in control of acceleration and braking, and the other is steering. This, however, is not a joyful romp of gentle puzzle solving and holding hands while you traverse the level and gaze lovingly into each other's eyes. The game imposes a brutally difficult timer on the players to complete the level, and almost seems to take pleasure in either making players sit and wait for things to happen, or stripping a large portion of the time off for mistakes. This often means that one player getting held up or struggling on a certain part can lead to the entire run being blown. But players also can't sit and wait for their teammate too long. If a player is idle for more than a few seconds, a special enemy comes down and latches onto them, draining your time continually. These two things turn the game into a crazed rush against a timer that cares nothing for your mental well-being, and each level turns into a frantic puzzle-solving and lightning-fast decision-making game. This is not a game to be played with your friend with anger management issues. Through all the dirty looks, insults, and controllers the players are throwing at each other, The Adventures of Cookie and Cream is a very fair game. While the occasional jank can feel like it's punishing you for no reason, typically if a run fails out, you know that as a player it's because of something you did, or more realistically, something the other player did. There is a fine balance between rushing through the levels and taking your time to make sure that both players are keeping up and know what is expected of them in what part of the run, optimizing the order that tasks are completed in to help negate any time-eating slip-ups. The game also includes an excellent multi-tiered hint system. Most of the puzzles have one or both of the helpful chickens to help the players if they get stuck, giving out just enough advice on the first interaction to get a gist of what to do. But if you're really stuck, you can interact with them again to get a full breakdown of what to do. However, despite their help, knowing is only half the battle in The Adventures of Cookie and Cream. I really enjoyed my time with this game. There are definitely some quality of life things it needs though. The 20-second penalty for taking a hit is horrible, especially with many enemies being able to stun lock you for multiple hits at a time. And the "you've waited too long" enemy is very problematic in how it punishes a player for waiting, or for trying to talk their partner through a section they're stuck on, or scratching their nose too long. It can also be very hard to see where players or pickups are in the air, as the game seems to occasionally forget that things cast shadows. But honestly, beyond these generally minor flaws, the game felt tight in a really good way. I enjoyed having to get good at certain parts because there was no way to slip past them or let the other player handle it. You can't dawdle through these sections either because it might lead to the time-stealing bastard showing up. The balance is very fair between a panicked rush and using the time-honed skills slowly and effectively. Like many Masocore gaming experiences, the joy comes in seeing each run get a little bit further, and that level exit getting a little bit closer. And eventually the relief and joy of overcoming a particularly brutal challenge. The development and growth in skills and the devastation of my liver afterwards are all part of the reward, not just the journey. If there's someone in your life that you would trust building IKEA furniture with minimal screaming and thrown pieces, I would definitely recommend The Adventures of Cookie and Cream. But just remember that it is not a casual pick-up-and-play game. It's a brutal romp designed to break you to the core and have you throwing insults at the other player that you didn't even know that you knew. Thanks for joining me at this look back at The Adventures of Cookie and Cream. If you want to see the game in action, but don't trust yourself to play it, you can check out the streams we did of the game by going to its playlist and giving that a watch. And if you like this kind of content, you can do the things you normally do on YouTube, and you'll know when there's new streams that are coming up, which are typically 2 to 3 a week. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.